Hello everyone and welcome to Understate the Party Devlog. In this entry, I will talk about new two square types I do to the game, which are random encounters and treasures. Random encounters are the purple squares. When you land in a random encounter, you roll a d20, and depending on the result, a creature spawns on the square. Let me show you right now. Let's start with picking up our quest and roll our dice. As you can see, we roll a dice and we got 18. 18 means the creature that spawns will have 18 power. Now, just like other creatures, you can try to escape from it if you don't want to attack it this round. Since this one is a strong creature, I will try to escape. And we succeed. And I will just end my turn here. When a creature spawns on a random encounter square, it stays there until it is killed. So let's play the turn for the other player. Now we land on the same creature, and again we have the same option. We don't want to escape for this one because we want to kill it. And as you can see, other players can kill it too. I created this square to add some unpredictability to the game. I believe this kind of randomness is helpful because no matter what kind of creature shows up, the player will still have agency over it, since they can try to escape from it if a too strong creature shows up, so it won't be too frustrating. Now let's take a look at treasure squares, which are these gold empty yellow squares. I want to add a purely positive square to the game board, and treasure square serves as that. My initial idea was to give players X amount of gold when they land on a treasure square, but always giving them the same amount of gold felt very boring, so I wanted to add some randomness to the reward. My next idea was to give players random amount of gold based on the result of the dice roll, but that felt really unbalanced because getting the low end of the gold felt really frustrating, while getting the high end of the gold felt very lucky. So I decided to divide the reward between experience and gold. I believe I talked about gold and experience in previous devlogs, but if I didn't or you missed that videos, gold will give you raw damage, while experience will allow you to upgrade your skills in various ways, depending on the skill. So let me show you how the treasure squares work right now. Let's pick up our quest again and roll our dice. So when you land on square, you roll a dice and we get 8. The result of the dice decides the difference between gold and experience rewards you get from the treasure. Since we got 8, they are pretty much the same. The closer the result is to 10, the more closer the rewards will be to each other. If it's on the low end of the dice, like 1 or 2, the gold reward will be much lower than the experience. If it's the opposite, like 19 or 20 from the dice roll, you'll get very high gold compared to very low experience. The total amount of reward, though, will always be the same. So the total amount of value will be never different. And that will be a lot less frustrating for the players, I believe. Also, there is not that high difference between the low end and the high end of the rewards. Also, you will always have the option to choose your reward. For example, right now, I can decide between gold and experience. So if you get a low reward, you can always choose the higher end. And since the high end will be very close to middle end, the rewards will be always be satisfying for the player. Right now, I want to choose experience. Let's check it out for the other player. As you can see, we got 1. And the gold reward is much lower than the experience reward. As you can see, the previous reward for the middle ground was like 100, but the high end is like 150. So there is not that big of a difference. I can choose experience again, which is the higher reward, and both players will get almost the same reward. I think this system creates good variety in treasure rewards, while causing least frustration on players. Now let's take a quick look at the code and start with the random encounter squares. At the start of the game, I place a creature with 0 HP on every random encounter square. So there is basically a dead creature in all of them. Then when a player lands on the square, I call the trigger square function, just like every other square. Then I check the creature's data. If it has 0 HP, I send a request to the server to randomly determine the creature's strength. Trigger square function is called on all clients, and normally that's okay, Since it only fires client events, each client can decide what they want to do with that event. But for this one, I am sending a server request, and I want to send it only once. So before sending it, I check if the client sending it is the active turn player. After receiving the request, the server randomly picks a number and takes the creature whose index is equal to the number from the creature list. After that, it updates the creature on board, whose index is equal to the index received from the client, so its stats are same as the creature it took from the list. Later, it makes all clients roll dice for the random creature. After dice roll is complete, trigger scare function is called once again. However, since the creature on the random encounter square does not have 0 HP anymore, it fires a make decision event, which asks player if they want to try to escape the creature. And from there, it works same as every other creature. Treasure squares are a lot simpler. When a player lands on it, I again send a request to the server after checking if the client is the active turn player. Then the server picks a random number again and asks all client to roll dice for that number. When dice roll is complete, it fires choose treasure event, which is just a specialized version of previous make decision event. It opens decision making UI for all players, and the active turn player can choose the reward they want. You can see the formula for calculating the rewards here. After the player chooses a reward, it sends another request to server, and server adds the rewards to the player's data. With that, we come to the end of another devlog. Our game board is now almost complete. All remaining squares are unique and related to the systems that doesn't exist in the game yet, such as player stats and equipment, so they may take longer than these two. But once they are complete, the game will be very close to being finished. I've talked about them briefly in the Notion document, but I haven't fully decided on their functionality yet, so they might change later. I believe that's all for this devlog. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one. Take care.